Hey everyone, Rick from Rick's RC and more. I got in front of me the SCX24 here. I'm going to, I got this off Amazon. This is basically everything you would need for a steering upgrade. It comes with aluminum bracket. Comes with all your aluminum steering components. Also comes with an aluminum steering horn, and it comes with the Emax ES08 MA2 servo. So the steering servo on these trucks are the speed on them's good. Just they're lacking a little bit on the torque, and then you'll see a video where I upgraded the links. So the steering links on here, they're really sloppy. They move around a lot. So it's going to be replaced with this aluminum one. Unfortunately, I could only get it in red. They didn't have black or anything like that. But that's okay. I'll have to actually go get the remote and everything for this, because you will have to center this servo before you install it. I'll have to get the battery for the truck as well. I have a weight on there on the stock steering servo, but I'll start ripping everything apart, and you know, I'll show you some stuff as I go, and we'll get this upgrade done. Now, when I've seen on other people's videos upgrading this, some of them cut the servo, the little, I don't know what you call them, but they got a trim here, or it hits on the frame or something on the chassis. Just opening up the servo box. It comes with, if you're doing just the servo upgrade, it does come with a horn. For what I see, you do have to cut it down or cut 3 of the 4 off of this servo horn. But this kit comes with an aluminum servo horn that'll work. I'm just curious. Yeah, the Emax servo looks like these ears are the same as the stock, but I know the stock one does bind a little bit, but not much. Anyway, we'll tackle that as we go. Just for kind of a point of reference here, there's a stock servo. Like I said, it's pretty quick. They are a little weak. Not bad, but we'll get the new one installed, and then we'll see the difference. All right, so I've got the stock steering servo and the link out. That's a piece of brass I put on top of the stock steering servo just to get some more weight on the front of the truck. To get this bracket off, we're gonna have to take some suspension parts off. The new bracket that comes with is aluminum. So is the steering, so I might not have to add that brass weight back to the front. We'll see. Although this isn't very heavy, it might not be a whole lot heavier than the plastic stuff, but so I'll continue on here. All right, so we got the stock plastic servo mount off. You can just take the 2 top screws out of your diff there and slide it out, and then of course your upper link there you have to unbolt. Now, there's really not a whole lot of difference in weight. The aluminum bracket is a little heavier. Let's slide it back into place here. Yeah, you can just literally push it down in place where the old one was, and the hardware for these does strip easily. Even the stock Axial hardware, you really got to be careful with it. You don't want to over torque it at all, because you will strip the heads. Tightening them doesn't really seem to be an issue. It's when you go to take stuff back apart, if you've over tightened it, then that's where you're going to run into the problems. I'm just trying to, there we go, get that other top one started. So the stock servo has a short little wire, whereas the Emax, of course, has a long one, so you'll have to either tie that up or curl it. I actually bought a driver set, but unfortunately I don't have a small enough Allen head for the driver set I bought. I got them from their Hobby Park set I got off of Amazon. Once I start using them on another build or another upgrade on something, I'll let everybody know what I think of them and quality wise. Some of this stuff is time consuming, so I'll skip to once I got this mounted. All right, so we got the servo bracket in. I hooked up the new servo. Make sure it's facing the same way with the with your splines over to the right when you're facing the vehicle, and then you're just going to want to turn it on. You want to make sure you've got your steering centered. So that'd be your channel 1. Make sure you got that centered on your remote. So you can see that servo go. So now it's should be centered. Yeah, if you move your channel 1 on your remote there, you'll see it moves that servo, but you want that set right at 0. So now your servo is centered. You can just turn the vehicle off. Make sure you don't do anything to move that gear. This length here, you could, like I said, you could zip tie that up. I've seen a gentleman that shows you wrapping it around something small and round, and then kind of heating it up so it stays that way. I've already got lights and that zip tied up here, so I'll just put it up through there and zip tie the excess. As far as the ears on the servo, they are a little bit taller than the stock, so I probably will trim the top of these off. I just gotta do that before I get it up there and installed. Okay, so trimming the ears, I just used a good sharp knife and just set it so these were flat on a piece of wood, and you're able to cut through it fairly easy with a knife. Gives you a nice clean cut. And now we're gonna move on. All right, so we got the servo up in place. Still a little bit of binding if it's a certain angle there, but no worse than stock, I would think. It has no trouble going up in between the frame rails straight on, but if it angles like this, there still is a little bit of binding there, where it just kind of, now with the angle that's on those servo ears, it might pop up in. So next would be our servo horn and our steering links. Open up the steering links. They give you 2 of these short ones. thought maybe they'd be different lengths, but they seem to be the same length. So I'm not quite sure why they give you two. Whether it was just mispackaged, because if you look at the stock steering link setup, you've got your servo horn, your short link, and then your long link. So I'm not quite sure why there's two there. They're the same length. Maybe it was just mispackaged, but that's fine. That's an upgraded spare part. So we'll put the short link on, we'll put the servo horn on, and we'll get all this bolted up. Now I know generally if you're screwing into aluminum, you would use Loctite, but given the fact how easy these screws strip out, I wouldn't recommend that. Particularly with, like, I use this thing pretty much indoor only, so I'm not going to worry about putting any Loctite on it. If something does come loose, then I generally hear it at the house. Now that steering servo bolts into the front. I got this entire kit from Amazon. It was like 20 bucks. 20 or $30, I can't remember which. That's Canadian, of course. But to upgrade just your steering links is almost as much money. So why not go for, instead of just buying the upgraded steering links, you can get this whole kit that comes with the better servo, aluminum servo horn, your upgraded steering links that are aluminum, and the bracket, the aluminum bracket to bolt the steering servo up. So it was kind of a no-brainer. I'm gonna mount this servo horn next, and then I'll get the steering mounted up. Okay, so I installed everything and I turned everything on, and the servo was constantly buzzing. Almost as if it didn't quite want to center. So I loosened off the servo horn screw here, and it stopped. So there might need to be a shim put in there, maybe. Just something that when you tighten that up, it's hitting something on the actual servo itself, and it's having trouble centering. So I'm going to have to take that servo horn back off and see what I can do about that. Maybe I can put a shim in there or something, because right now that servo horn screw isn't tight, and so there's just some slop in the servo horn. So let's see what we can do about that. Okay, so I don't have any shims that are going to fit up in here, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some material off the back of it where it mounts to the servo. You want to make sure that you, of course, still have, you don't touch the front of it where the screw goes in there. I'm having trouble getting that to focus. But yeah, I'm going to take some material off the back of this, and so it doesn't, so it bottoms out up front and it doesn't bind against that servo. That's it's quite surprising it does that. The splines in here too are they're pretty sloppy on that servo. I mean, worst come to worst, you could put your stock one back on, but it's got the built-in servo saver, which I know does cause some issues with the steering on these as well. But I'll take some material off of this and get it so that that servo is not laboring trying to center. All right, so I took some material off the back of this, cleaned it up. I'm going to see where we're at. It's easier, don't do what I did, because I always manage to do something that takes up more time, but you actually want to mount, because the that short steering link goes behind the horn. and the horn is threaded, if you don't tighten that up first, then it's really hard to get at. Really hard to get at. I don't know. The threads on the that steering servo don't seem like they're very good either. Matter of fact, I think that might even be a little stripped. You put a longer screw in there and put a nut on it. Oh, that seemed to tighten up. And then, of course, the trick is having your steering straight with your servo centered there. And you put the horn back on. There we go. Sorry, this is kind of off camera. These little guys, working on them can be tedious, especially if you got big hands and if you're somebody who's got sausage-like fingers. All right. So let's, it shouldn't be buzzing anymore. Yeah. So it's no longer, the servo is no longer laboring to center now. Before, without that material taken away, it must have been hitting the servo, and you could hear the servo buzzing, which means it's laboring, and that was just to center it. So that servo seemed to be pretty quick. I'm going to put the tires back on, and then I'll set it down, and I'll see how much faster it seems. They're supposed to be more powerful, so we'll see how that goes as well. So other than, I mean, you get what you pay for. These are, like I said, I think it was like $20 or $30 Canadian for everything, all in one package. So there is a little bit of play there. Yeah, that servo horn where that screw goes in, that is definitely stripped. I can push that right, almost push that right out. So before I go any further, I'm going to have to deal with that. I wonder if I could just drill that out and tap it bigger, put a bigger piece of hardware in there. So before I finish up here, I'm going to have to find a fix for that, because that's no good. And then I'm going to have to take the servo horn probably back off. So all right, we're gonna deal with that, and then we'll continue on. All right, so I don't have a tap that size. That's a really tiny screw, even to go a size up. So what I ended up doing there to resolve that issue was putting some Teflon tape over the threads. I put a lot longer piece of hardware in there. So I don't know if maybe, I don't have any right now, but if I could get a nut that'll fit these, I could put a nut on this end, and that's going to hold it tight. Also put a little bit of Loctite on there. Oh wow, and that steering servo is much faster and way more powerful. That so that part of it's really good. So as far as this Amazon deal goes, the servo alone is kind of worth what you pay for that kit. And might be off a spline on my yeah, I think I might have been off a spline on my steering, so I had to adjust it, but it's not way over on the dial. I still got some adjustment there. But yeah, that's actually quite impressive. So just have to tidy up these servo wires, and that's another upgrade to the SCX24. I said you get an extra one of these for some reason. At least mine did. They also come with everything you need, even the Allen key, and you get several of those. There's another one in that baggie with some hardware. with the kit. So other than that little issue where the threads really strip out easy on that servo horn, I'd say this kit's definitely worth it. Maybe I'll post in the description what I actually paid for that. I can't remember if it was 20 or 30. I'll have to look it up. But yeah, the hardest thing about working on these 124 scale rigs is the tiny hardware and stuff like that. I think that's a reusable zip tie I got on there, so I can pop that out and get this wiring tidied up. So yeah, like I said, definitely an upgrade, and there's still a little bit of play in the steering on these, but it doesn't flop around like the stock plastic links. So I'm going to call this a video, and like I said, I'm just going to tidy up that wiring. That's no big deal. I'll play with this guy around the house some, and I'm sure that's going to be a big improvement with that steering servo. Definitely faster and definitely more powerful. The stock one is the Axial AS1, and yeah, it has a built-in servo saver there that I don't know, people have had some issues with, and the brass weight, I'll just pop it off the stock one, and I'm not sure if I'm going to put it on this one or not. We'll see. The weight is kind of forward biased still on that truck a little bit. If I feel I got to add it back on, I'll add it back on. It's just two-sided taped on there. So yeah, that's the some upgrades on the SCX24. Thanks for watching, and we'll see everybody in the next video.